There are extremely specific prophecies made by our Prophet Muhammad exactly 14 centuries ago, and here is the point that should truly frighten you. Many of these prophecies have already come true with shocking accuracy, while the more disturbing ones seem very close to happening. For example, among the signs of the last day, it is said that barefoot and uneducated people will gain great wealth over time and compete with each other in building very tall buildings today, the giant skyscrapers rising in the Arab world, especially in cities like Dubai, and the huge fortunes formed in a short time clearly show this. Hadith. Our beloved Prophet also told us that time would speed up. He said that years would pass like months and months would pass like weeks. Today we all feel this and talk about it. However, while speaking about the end times, our Prophet did not warn only about dangers that can be seen with the eyes. He also informed us that the real threat would come from unseen worlds. It is mentioned that Dajjal will have powers that seem extraordinary, such as making rainfall, making the land green, and bringing the dead back to life. Great scholars like Ibn Arabi explain that these will not be real miracles, but a strong deception, an illusion created by using jinn and some satanic beings. For example, by using the ability of jinn to change their shape, he will appear in the form of people's dead parents, show them their lost family members, and claim that he brought them back to life. Many people who do not know these hadiths will believe what they see and fall into this great fitna. So the threats coming from unseen worlds will not appear in one single form. They will come to humanity with many different faces and many different methods. Especially in recent years, the increasing discussions about contact with aliens suggest that this veil is slowly being lifted day by day. The line between humans and unseen beings is becoming thinner. What is described here is not just a mystical talk, it is a real event that was foretold and is slowly approaching step by step. The Quran clearly states some people from among humans sought refuge with some from among the jinn, and this only increased them in rebellion. This verse is not a simple story about fear. This verse explains how a system works. Communication with jinn is not a legend, but it is also not an open door for everyone. Throughout history, this door has been forced by kings, magicians, false spiritual leaders, and secret groups. Ibn Arabi speaks about 3 levels of relationship with jinn: the first, accidental contact; the second, intentional but limited communication; the third, mutual agreement and service relationship. The danger begins at the 3rd level. At this point, the issue is no longer about gaining knowledge. At this point, intelligence gathering, direction, and control begin, while modern intelligence agencies collect information using satellites, listening devices, and digital surveillance.
We have to get this across the border by midnight.
Armies of Dajjal will use jinn intelligence, as explained by Imam Ghazali in Ihya al-Ulum. Jinn can whisper into human hearts, influence thoughts, and even change emotional states. Now imagine this at the level of an army, organized and systematic. The jinn under the command of Dajjal will enter strategic points, read the thoughts of leaders, learn plans, and carry this information to their master. Imagine a secret meeting where world leaders are gathered in a conference room, the most advanced security systems, the thickest walls, the most encrypted communication systems are in place, but in the corner, unseen by the eye, a jinn is waiting. It hears every word, learns every plan, then suddenly disappears and carries the information to Dajjal's headquarters. This is not science fiction, this is a reality explained in detail in Islamic sources. Jinn work like an army. They are not only individual beings, they also have communities, leaders, and chains of obedience. In hadiths, it is mentioned that Iblis has a throne and tries to rule the world from it. This is not a metaphor, this is an organizational structure. Jinn, they observe human weaknesses, they analyze fears, they record how a person reacts to each emotion: a moment of anger, a moment of pride, a moment of despair. These are all entry points for them, and this information is passed on like intelligence. The hadiths tell us this fitna will increase, truth and falsehood will mix together, people will struggle to choose what is right. This environment is a golden age for jinn because they touch the heart. Ibn Arabi says the jinn show a person his dark sides and awaken the evil inside him. From 2026 and after, especially with technology combined with psychological manipulation, the influence of jinn will increase many times. Right now, in the deepest underground facilities of the world, medium intelligence agents are working who try to make contact with beings from the metaphysical realm. As Ibn al-Arabi points out, jinn do not affect humans only spiritually, they also have the ability to act upon matter. Remember Surah An'am verse 39, when Suleiman wanted the throne of Balkis to be brought from thousands of kilometers away, and Ifrit from the Jinn said, I will bring it to you before you rise from your place, and I have the strength and trust to do it now. Imagine a commander whose army can pass through walls, cannot be detected by radar, and cannot be seen by satellites. After 2026, we will see war doctrines change. Dajjal will not come alone. Dajjal comes as a system. The Dajjal system prepares battalions made of
the forest
Jinn to establish its false rule with their ability to manipulate matter. These beings will cause unexplained failures in strategic facilities and carry out physical attacks. At the same time, they will whisper into the minds of key leaders and decision makers, leading them to make wrong decisions. Global power centers and esoteric groups have understood that the limits of the material world are not enough for the absolute power they have been seeking for centuries. Now they are going deeper. What is explained in this section is the foundation of the fitna of Dajjal. He has not yet appeared on the stage, but behind the curtain the preparations have already begun. Apart from Jinn and metaphysical events, one of the important signs of the last day mentioned by our prophet is destructive earthquakes. He said the hour will not come until earthquakes increase. This is one of the events we may face in the near future. We may wake up one day to news of a very large earthquake in a major and crowded city like Istanbul, with a very high number of deaths in a remarkable hadith narrated by Imam Muslim Muhammad also foretold something else besides earthquakes. The hour will not come until the lands of the Arabs return to being meadows and rivers. Recently, we have all noticed unusually heavy rainfall in Arabia, and even around the Kaaba the rain has become so frequent and intense that greenery has started to appear in Mecca. The greening of a large area shows that this sign of the last day has begun to come true. The Quran itself points to a greener past or future of Arabia. In Surah Yasin it says, a sign for them is the dead land. We gave it life and brought forth grain from it, and from it they eat, and we placed in it gardens of date palms and grapevines. What is interesting is that geological records confirm what the Quran says. Although today we see endless sand dunes, the Arabian Peninsula was once fertile and green. The Quran refers to this in Surah Al-Hajj and says, you see the land dry, but when we send down rain upon it, it stirs, swells, and grows every kind of beautiful plant. Modern climate models are also changing in very strange ways that match these prophecies. The Euphrates crisis brings another prophecy into sharp focus. Our prophet said, the hour will not come until the Euphrates River dries up and reveals a mountain of gold. Today the Euphrates River is facing a serious water crisis, with water levels dropping dramatically. The Quran also warns about water scarcity in Surah Al-Mulk and says, say, tell me if your water were to sink away, who could bring you flowing water? This prophecy is not only about environmental change, it is also about resource conflicts that will arise when nations fight over water rights. As mentioned in the hadiths, that people will fight over the treasures of the river. When riverbeds dry up, you lose all of this and society begins to collapse. The Messenger of Allah, who said that many and different disasters would occur, may also have pointed to global pandemics like COVID. He spoke about events that would happen on a worldwide scale and affect all of humanity in 2026. Not only the hadiths of our prophet, but even magazines like The Economist report that pandemics and strange diseases will increase. The COVID-19 pandemic was only a beginning. Future outbreaks may be much more deadly and powerful. The strategy of Dajjal is clear: to weaken people, frighten them, and bring them under control. But should I, as a Muslim, trust The Economist magazine cover? We do not look at it because of trust. We look at it to understand their strategies, because these are not ordinary covers. For many years, people around the world have believed that these covers are not simple news, but almost like predictions, coded messages, or even announcements of the hidden agenda of global powers. Whenever the world order shakes, whenever geopolitical balances change, whenever global crises break out, the same traces left behind the Economist cover
Allah guides us to the
months,
truth.
even years earlier. Some say these covers are deliberately designed to announce future plans of multinational corporations, intelligence agencies, and global elites through symbolic language. Others say it is all coincidence, but there is something interesting. At the end of every debate, we always come back and look at these covers again, because every symbol, every color, every line seems to cast the shadow of the future onto today. And now the magazine has released its 2026 cover, an illustration that looks like a celebration cake, but in every detail carries signs of danger, war, technology collapse, and a new world order. So let us look at how much this matches the hadiths and Islamic signs of the last day. At first glance, what we see on the cover is a large birthday cake decorated with red, blue, and white cream on top of it. There is a big no. 250 on the surface. This refers to the 251st anniversary of the United States in 2026, a quarter millennium of American democracy, but a magazine like The Economist, whose covers are full of codes, would never present such a critical number with a cake as just a celebration. This cake actually carries a three-layered message. First, the cover gives the world a simple fact: 2026 is the 251st year of the United States. From the outside, this looks like pride, remembrance, and a call for national unity, but the dark symbols around it, drone swarms, broken charts, war icons, genetic symbols, cast a shadow over this cake. It is as if the magazine is saying it looks like a celebration, but when you look closer, you will see this is not a holiday. It is a turning point. The American system reached its peak in 250 years and is now in decline. 250 is a threshold, just like the moment when the Roman Empire moved from rise to collapse. According to strategic analysts, American power peaked in the 20th century. Fractures began in the 21st century, and the 250th year may mark the beginning of a new world order. That is why this cake is not perfect. It is surrounded by symbols of war, crisis, and chaos. This cake may not be prepared for celebration, but for farewell. According to many analysts around the world, The Economist covers have long been seen as an artistic early announcement of global plans. From this perspective, this cake raises a serious question: will the 250th year be the year when America, and therefore the world order, is reprogrammed? The cake may be a metaphor, a closing ceremony of one era, and the announcement of a new one, blowing out the candles of the old system, preparing the new system. The cover seems to say the candles of the American century are going out. Watch carefully what comes next. Yes, we have reached the end of Pax Americana. There will no longer be peace in Europe or in the Americas as before. On the very day we prepared this video, the German Chancellor said these words on television. Maybe the Great War, called Malhama Kubra in Islam and Armageddon in Christianity, is at the door. German forces were reported on today's news as gathering near the Russian border. Because of this, the collapse of the American system, and maybe even the state itself, may soon become unavoidable, both economically and militarily. An unbearable capitalism and a debt-based economy have become a heavy burden on the world. Another interesting detail on The Economist cover is the satellites. This is the peak of sky surveillance. The satellites on the cover are spreading radar waves around them. These lines are not just decoration. The signals represent surveillance from space, signal war, satellite sabotage, and the risk of global disconnection in 2026. These signals coming from the sky represent a digital darkness spreading into energy networks, banks, election systems, and even people's personal lives. A drone being shot down and a cargo ship targeted from a satellite suggest that 2026 may be the year of high altitude conflicts. The sky is no longer just a blue space. It has become the main stage of weapons, signal, surveillance, and threats. At the beginning of the video, we said that Jinn would be presented as aliens, and that contact with aliens, meaning Jinn, would take place. The Economist cover also points to this idea. Shapeshifting is part of the nature of Jinn, the myth of extraterrestrial beings, which is the greatest curiosity and fear of modern humans, is a perfect disguise for the army of Dajjal. Those unidentified objects seen in the sky, beams of light gray-skinned beings. When we look at them through Islamic sources, we understand that many of them are shape-shifted jinn. They can move at speeds technology cannot explain and can pass beyond matter. When Dajjal appears on Earth or declares his global rule, he will show these beings, claiming they are highly advanced technology. And he may say to people, look, even our friends from the stars are under
we have
my
to get
command.
This across the border
I rule
by midnight.
not only the world,
risky.
but the
patrols
universe.
are
These
everywhere.
beings
look at
can
the
take
corner.
human
Do you feel
form,
that?
but they can also appear in superhuman, angelic, or alien forms. IBNL. Arabi says that Jinn can wear forms from the world of imagination and descend into the material world. People will think they are seeing saviors descending from the sky, but in reality they are nothing but Ifrits and Marids under the command of Dajjal. This is a theater planned for thousands of years, designed to prepare humanity for a false messiah. Now we come to an extraordinary and shocking prophecy that even The Economist could not imagine. Wild animals and objects speaking to humans. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I swear by the one in whose hand is my soul, the hour will not come until wild animals speak to people, until the tip of a man's whip speaks to him, until the strap of his shoe speaks to him, and until his thigh tells him what his family did after him, maybe you will miss silence in this new phase starting from 2026 and beyond the shocking news given by our prophet 14 years ago in the middle of the desert stands before us by combining with today's technological and metaphysical reality. When we say speaking, we usually think of words coming from the mouth, but speaking is actually transmitting meaning. If something gives you information, reacts to you, and produces a response, it is no longer silent. Maybe with special machines we will fully understand the emotions and desires of animals. With the help of artificial intelligence, we may reach a point where we understand exactly what they mean. AI algorithms are already decoding the frequencies of whales in the deep oceans. Devices that translate a baby's cry as "I am hungry" or "I am scared" are already on store shelves. Very soon the meowing of your cat will not be just a sound. AI chips in their collars will analyze brain waves and throat movements and give you clear answers. The intelligence of objects, the shoe strap and the whip. The most frightening part is about objects we think are lifeless. What do the whip and the shoe strap mentioned in the Hadith point to in the modern world? To the black glass boxes you always carry with you and never put down. Smartphones, the tip of the whip. The phone will inform its owner. While you were away, your spouse talked to this person, your child visited this website. Today this already happens through notifications and log records, but tomorrow these objects will literally speak. And there is also the spiritual side. A believer may enter his home and hear his couch say, "Welcome, O friend of Allah."
The sleeper
or a
awakens.
tyrant may hide behind a rock,
The forest
and that rock
hears
will
us.
cry out, "O Muslim, there is a tyrant behind me, come and punish him." The hadith about stones and trees, except the Garciadi tree. Ibn al-Arabi says everything is alive and everything has a language, but we could not hear it. In the end times the heaviness on the ears will be removed, the frequency of matter and the frequency of human perception will become equal. This is also where artificial intelligence comes in. Behind AI are machines and chips. These are matter and algorithms from the union of matter and algorithms. A new form is born. For example, our phones and computers already talk to us. The speaking of lifeless objects mentioned here may also point to artificial intelligence. Maybe these lifeless things will be given bodies, enter our lives as robots and speak to us by taking a human-like form as if they were living beings. Let us now look at the prophecies of Ibn Arabi about 2026 and after. We are standing in the middle of the mysterious visions of Muhyiddin Ibn al-Arabi, the greatest mystic of 800 years ago, the guardian of cosmic secrets, whose words seem to tear through layers of time and reach our day today. Many researchers ask the same question: did Ibn Arabi truly see the future, or does humanity simply repeat the same disasters and the same hopes again and again? But the picture Ibn Arabi draws for this period is frighteningly detailed. The years of wind, war, and disease. One of the first sentences taken from Ibn Arabi's texts hits like a slap. This year the winds are many and strong. Events begin with the wind, while the storms, hurricanes, dry winds, fires, and unstable weather events of 2025 seem to match his description almost exactly. It is said that in 2026 these air movements point to something far more dangerous. In Ibn Arabi's symbolic language, one represents things that spread quickly. This can be a virus, a war, a rebellion, or an economic collapse. He continues, in this year wars increase. When we look at today's geopolitical map, these words sound disturbingly familiar. Disease and collapse. One of the most discussed lines is this: because of a sudden disease, especially animals of the donkey kind perish greatly. In medieval Arabic, donkey kind does not mean only donkeys. It includes horses, mules, and all service and transport animals. Modern commentators explain this in two main ways: the possibility of a new animal-based epidemic, a major economic collapse that could affect agriculture and transportation. When this is combined with predictions of falling prices for sheep meat and fat, it suggests that in 2026 there may be serious shocks in livestock and the food supply chain. The text continues: smallpox increases and diseases of the throat and back become common. Medical historians say this does not have to mean literal smallpox. It can be a symbolic description of viral diseases with fever and skin rashes. Years of looting, chaos, and social breakdown. One of the most striking statements is this: in this year the desire for looting and plunder increases among people. Many researchers see this as a symbol of deepening economic crisis and war psychology. Ibn Arabi adds a sentence that describes the social structure clearly: harvest is little, demand as much, patience is little. This may point to a year when societies become fragile, anger rises, and unrest spreads. Dark clouds over Yemen, Iraq, and Sham. Muhyiddin Ibn al-Arabi narrows the geography very clearly. In Yemen, Iraq, and sham high prices and chaos increased great disorder appears in this time sham referred to a wide region starting from today's Syria and extending deep into Anatolia. For this reason, this prediction opens the door to scenarios such as new conflicts in Syria, the widening of Iran-Israel tension, sectarian clashes, economic collapse, and waves of migration. His statement, fear is felt during the Hajj season, is often discussed by modern commentators as a possible sign of regional attacks or major security threats. Eclipses and bloodshed. One of Ibn Arabi's most symbolic and most debated sentences, is this one of the moon or the sun, is eclipsed because of this much blood is shed. This reflects a traditional way of interpretation that connects astronomical events with political and military crises. In 2026, there is indeed a significant cycle of solar and lunar eclipses. Those who follow Ibn Arabi's texts see events in the sky as key moments of destiny. Historically, eclipses have often coincided with wars, fewer births, dark years ahead. The final and darkest emphasis for 2026 is this: pregnant women lose their children before their time. Ibn Arabi explains this with the influence of Saturn and describes the year as unfortunate. In the modern world, this brings two possibilities to mind: a widespread health problem or a natural decline in birth rates during periods of social and economic collapse. According to Ibn Arabi, these signs together point to a period not of peace but of testing, a time when humanity is pushed to its limits both physically and spiritually. Let us also talk about some prophecies on the Economist cover that we have not mentioned yet, and how they seem to confirm Ibn Arabi. Health and biotechnology, pills and syringes. The most repeated symbol on the Economist cover is pills scattered everywhere. Along with this, injection needles and medical tool icons are also very striking. These details may be whispering one of the darkest messages about the year 2026. The pills look as if they are randomly spread, but this actually represents the broken and fragmented health system of the modern world. It points to a huge control mechanism formed by global pharmaceutical companies, state policies and biotechnology revolutions. The pills are not lined up and do not form a chain because human health is no longer treated as a whole. It has become a divided industry. Each pill represents the intervention of a different power center, a health policy imposed by a state, a billion-dollar drug project of a corporation, or a controversial experiment coming out of a laboratory. The syringe symbol deepens this message. On the cover, injections are drawn together with weapons and drones. This is not a coincidence. This placement suggests that in 2026 danger will not come only from drones, satellites, or war technologies in the sky, but also from inside the human body itself. So the cover seems to say this: the battlefield of the future is the human body, and the darkest question appears here: who will control this body? The individual states, global corporations, or AI-supported health systems? The scattered pills symbolize how unclear the answer is: not order but confusion, not healing but the possibility of manipulation. In short, these small pills on the Economist cover may be the quietest yet the most terrifying scream in the whole image. One of the 2026 predictions on the cover is robots as humans withdraw from the workforce, machines take their place. The robot stands with its arms open as if saying, now I am here, but the message is much bigger than that. It is the symbol of the rise of robotics. Cold but everywhere today. We already see automation in factories, warehouses, and even kitchens by 2026. These systems are expected to move to the very center of the economic, social, and political order. On the cover there is a red human brain connected to a red cable. The other end of the cable goes to a game controller. This is not a simple drawing. It may represent the most critical war of the future, the war over the mind, because 2026 may mark the beginning of a time when the human brain is no longer seen as just an organ, but as a new market, a new battlefield, and a new system. What does the brain being connected to a game controller mean? A controller moves a character left and right, makes it jump, run, and turn. In short, it gives full control. The Economist's message seems to be this: it is no longer only machines that are controlled, the human mind itself can be controlled like a game character. This points to a more advanced version of what we already see today: algorithms shaping behavior, TikTok, dopamine loops, advertising manipulation, political influence, and social engineering. We are no longer playing the game, the game is playing us. Another meaning of this symbol is the rapid rise of
what they are hiding.
neurotechnology companies. Elon Musk's Neuralink experiments, chips that help paralyzed patients move, mind-controlled computers, and theories about transferring consciousness are no longer science fiction, they are laboratory realities. The Economist message is clear: 2026 may be the beginning of the era when the brain connects to the internet. When you look at the cover as a whole, the first feeling is chaos, and when you look closely at this chaos, the most obvious thing is rockets everywhere. None of them suggest peaceful space exploration. This may be one of the Economist's strongest messages for 2026. The shape, direction, and placement of the rockets matter. Some launch straight up, some are horizontal, and some appear next to pills and syringes, which suggests biological weapons. The message is clear: war is no longer one-dimensional. Military, biological, technological, and space dimensions are all active at the same time. The repeated presence of rockets across the cover marks 2026 as a major turning point. Another striking section of the cover is the leaders on the left. Three suited figures walking side by side represent power blocks.
We have to get this
outside
across
the
the border
United States,
by
especially
midnight.
China,
It's too
Russia,
risky.
and Europe. These
The
are
patrols are
actors who shape
everywhere.
the
I know, but
system
look at the
from
corner.
within, but
Do you
still
feel that?
operate within its rules. On the right, the red-headed figure with a raised hand represents Trump. This seems to symbolize the populist wave inside America, a leadership style that claims to destroy the old order but may bring a different kind of chaos. The two swords crossed in the center are especially important. One represents the United States, the other China. These swords show that leaders are no longer fighting only through diplomacy but through technology, chip wars, artificial intelligence, and economic pressure. The cable passing behind the swords connects directly to the red line, linking the brain to the controller. The meaning is this: in 2026, great powers are not only fighting over borders, they are fighting over minds, data flow, and digital control. So these figures represent more than individual leaders. They represent system operators wearing the masks of leaders. The Economist cover seems to give this final message: in 2026, the real battle will not be about whether Biden, Trump, or Xi wins. It will be about who holds the plug to our minds. Now we move to another hadith. The famous and terrifying warning of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam will take place. The hour will not come until the Euphrates River dries up and reveals a mountain of gold. People will fight over it, and out of every 100 people, 99 will die. Each one of them will say, "Maybe I will be the one who survives." The mountain of gold of the Euphrates. Is its fulfillment close? Just as this technological transformation reaches its peak, the geography of the world will follow it. Climate crisis, dam conflicts, and water wars will lead to the drying of the Euphrates, and in its riverbed, perhaps remnants of ancient civilizations, perhaps a geological formation, or perhaps a natural anomaly will reveal massive reserves of pure gold. At that moment, the artificial gold of Dajjal and this cursed treasure created by Allah will collide. While technology-produced gold loses its value through inflation and manipulation, the gold of the Euphrates will become the final test of human greed. Muslims have been given this clear command: whoever is present there should not take anything from it. Why? Because that gold is soaked in blood, that gold is fitna, that gold represents the desire to cling to this world forever. Believers will walk past it without even turning their heads, because they know that whoever reaches for that mountain will lose not only their arm but their soul. Our Prophet also said a time will come when knowledge will be abundant but wisdom will be scarce. This intellectual weakness is clearly mentioned in the Hadiths as one of the signs of the end times. Have you thought about this recently? We are exposed to an endless flood of information, yet great intellectuals, philosophers, and thinkers who truly influence societies are not emerging. Maybe this is connected to people being made shallow by dark systems, constantly scrolling through short videos, slowly becoming mentally numb, perhaps by constantly consuming unnecessary and false information. Our intellectual capacity is actually decreasing. We can no longer focus on what truly matters. In Surah Al-Hujurat, it says, "O believers, if a sinful person brings you news, verify it." This verse appeared long before fake news and today's digital rumors, yet it directly speaks to our time. At its core, it gives us a path to navigate a world where misinformation spreads everywhere through social media. This emphasis on verification feels especially relevant in an age where false information is everywhere. If we return again to the Economist cover, it was saying that modern science and artificial intelligence will be used to control the minds of the masses. At the beginning of the video, we also mentioned that this could be done with the help of Jinn. Artificial intelligence has already started to analyze data and predict What a person is thinking in 2026, this system will become much more advanced with a band placed on your head. Your thoughts may appear on a screen. This is the technological version of the claim of knowing the unseen. Gabe mentioned in the Hadiths, the system of Dajjal will use this technology. It will read people's thoughts and identify who is obedient and who is opposing. Imagine a believer walking on the street in his mind he thinks, Dajjal is a liar, I will never believe in him, but a camera
wars ignited
corner
under the
detects his brain
eclipsed
waves
sky.
through special sensors. The system gives an alert. Opposition detected a few. Minutes later, security forces stopped that Muslim, but I did nothing. He says no, they reply, but you thought this is thought crime. The dystopia described in George Orwell's 1984 becomes reality, but mind reading will not be only individual, it will also be collective. Big data analysis can already study the behavior of millions of people and predict what they will do. Which videos do you watch on social media? Which news do you click on? How long do you stay? At what time are you active? All of this creates
We gotta go
your
now.
psychological profile. In 2026, this system will go even deeper. Algorithms will not only know what people are doing, but also what they will do next, and content will be shown accordingly. There is an election. The system predicts how each person will vote. It sends special messages to undecided people. To one person, it emphasizes economy. To another, it emphasizes security. In the end, people think they are voting with free will, but in reality, the algorithm has guided them. Imam Ghazali says the best way to deceive a person is to make him feel free. This is exactly what Dajjal will do. He will say to people, you are free, but step by step, he will control them. The advertising industry already does this. Which color, which music, which word triggers, which emotion, all of this is already known, but in 2026 it will go much further. Brain scans will show which advertisement activates which part of the brain, and ads will be specially designed. There is a product, your brain reacts strongly to the idea of security, then that product will be shown to you with the message, this product protects you. Another person's brain reacts to the idea of prestige, then that person will be shown the message, this product makes you special. Different minds, different messages, all perfectly calculated. The same product is shown, but everyone is manipulated according to their own psychological need. Our prophet said in the end times people will prefer this world over the hereafter. They will sell their religion for their wealth. Hakim, this is how it happens. Neuromarketing, manipulating minds and pushing people
Allah
into
guides us
constant
to the
consumption.
truth.
Not only thoughts but emotions will be read. Facial recognition systems already know who is angry and who is happy. In 2026 the system will watch the streets. There is a crowd. The system scans everyone and says general mood tense. The system of Dajjal immediately acts. Relaxing images appear on screens. Calm music plays from speakers. The crowd is manipulated without realizing it. They were about to protest, but now they are calm. Ibn Khaldun says the way to rule societies is to rule their moods. In the end times this principle will be applied through technology. Subliminal messages, invisible propaganda. In the past, subliminal messages were used in advertisements. A very fast image would appear in a frame. Your conscious mind would not see it, but your subconscious would record it. In 2026 this technique will be far more advanced. Invisible frequencies will be broadcast through screens. You wear headphones and messages come at frequencies you cannot hear. Obey Dajjal, trust Dajjal, love Dajjal. You do not hear these words, but the deeper layers of your brain receive them slowly. Your resistance to Dajjal melts away, but believers will know how to protect themselves. As Imam Ghazali taught, purifying the heart. A believer prays regularly and reads the Quran. His heart is full of light. When these subconscious messages come, his heart rejects them. He feels this is a false voice. The prophet said in the body there's a piece of flesh. If it is sound, the whole body is sound. Bukhari. If the heart is strong, manipulation does not work. The most dangerous manipulation, controlling the options. They give you three choices, A, B, and C. You freely choose C, but in reality the system already knew you would choose C. A and B were only fake options. Imagine an election. There are two candidates. Both are actually men of Dajjal, but people do not know this. They think we are choosing freely no matter what. The result is a brilliant algorithm makes sure that Dajjal and his system win. Ibn Arabi says freedom in this world is often an illusion. True freedom is in servitude to Allah. In 2026 people will think they are free, but in reality they will be tied with invisible chains. Even today every person sees a different internet. The algorithm shows you content based on your interests. If you are left-leaning you see left-leaning content. If you are right-leaning you see right-leaning content. Everyone lives in their own echo chamber. They never hear The opposite view polarization increases. In 2026, this will go even deeper. Not only political views, but everything will be personalized. Your reality will be different from your neighbor's reality, and Dajjal will give a different message to every group. To one group, he will say, I am peace. To another group, he will say, I am justice. Everyone will see what they want to see. Imam Ghazali says the greatest weapon of Dajjal is showing a different face to everyone. So how will Muslims protect themselves? First step, digital choices. We will spend time on screens, but we should choose Islamic videos or educational content, even for entertainment. Turning to Islamic cinema can help. Digital fasting can also be done maybe one day a week. Second step, dhikr and meditation. If the mind is constantly busy, manipulation is difficult, but if the mind is empty, everything can enter. Believers will fill their minds with dhikr, Allah, Allah constantly, then there will be no space left for outside messages. Third step, critical thinking. Question every piece of information. Is this true? What is the source? What is the purpose? Calculating thinking. Questioning this is the best shield against manipulation. In 2026, the biggest war will be in the minds. The system of Dajjal will read thoughts, manipulate emotions, and control options, but believers will resist with a clean mind and a clean heart, and they will win because a pure heart is the strongest fortress. Since we are talking about prophecies, let us also mention the Simpsons. On social media, there are many posts claiming that the Simpsons predicted events like the 2026 World Cup final, a massive snowstorm freezing America, or even a world war. However, the creators of the show have clearly stated that these images did not come from The Simpsons. They were completely produced by internet users, especially in the age of artificial intelligence. The producers warn everyone to be careful about fake Simpsons prophecy images. It is true that for many years, some episodes of The Simpsons have been linked to real events after they happened.
It's too risky.
When we look closely and research properly, there is no solid or real reference in The Simpsons that directly points to the year 2026, and beyond. It looks frightening, doesn't it? Dark, chaotic, and difficult. But remember this, the darkest moment of the night comes just before dawn. What we have described is not a disaster scenario, it is a birth pain. It is the beginning of a second spring, carrying the scent of a coming golden age, a new era of justice, peace, and balance, echoing the spirit of Asri. Sardet, the fitna of Dajjal, the influence of Jinn, the betrayal of technology. All of these are temporary tests. What remains permanent is faith, hope, and the promise of Allah. Be ready, prepare not only your minds but also your hearts, because history is not ending. The real history is just beginning, and Allah alone knows the future, and He knows best. Our wish for all of us is to live a good, peaceful, and calm 2026. Hope to see you in the next video. The time people have waited for centuries is here. On one side, the Economist covers where global power speaks through symbols. On the other side, Hadiths from 1400 years ago, and the explanations of great Islamic scholars like Ibn Arabi pointing to today. There are no coincidences. When you see how these two sources match in 2026, you will be surprised. So are Jinn, what we call aliens today, working under the Dajjal system? Shocking hadiths speak of talking animals, objects, and global disasters. AI is changing the future, and 2026 may be the turning point. And most importantly, as Islam spreads around the world, what is Dajjal's dark and hidden plan before entering 2026? Listen to the end-time warnings of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You are watching. We continue our mysterious videos in Islam series 2. Not miss anything. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and support us with your comments. If you are ready, let's begin.